Hey guys, Saki here, and welcome to another episode of Kerbal Space Program. We have Jebediah, Bill, and Bob ready to go to Minmus, so we'll see you on the launch pad. As you may recognize this rocket, this is our Saturn V model rocket. Good liftoff. We didn't get stuck in the launch pad, which is always good. Jebediah is looking out to the stars. Bill's kind of concerned, and so is Bob. No worries, Jebediah is in the pilot seat, and we are going vertical. I figured Minmus would be the next destination for us. We've conquered the moon. We've added a space station 500 kilometers above Kerbal. So now it's time to go to the moon with the lighter gravity in the Kerbal system. It's not the lightest gravity, but it's fairly close. Landing on Minmus is actually easier, and it's recommended that you go to Minmus first if you're unfamiliar with landing and maneuver nodes, because it's a more forgiving landing site. So here we go, almost done with that bottom stage. This rocket weighs a ton, carries a ton of fuel for a ton of thrust. Halfway up to our gravity turn now against the stars, and what we will try to do is just like the space station, we will adjust our inclination as we climb. So once we dump this first stage here, we'll be ready to pitch over to the 90 and adjust our inclination from there. There's that stage gone. Fire the second stage. It falls away just as planned. No Separatrons needed. And now we pitch over to that 90-degree mark at a 45-degree angle to get altitude and velocity. Pretty standard launch as far as the Saturn V is concerned. If you want to see the whole launch process, those are starting with Apollo 8. On my previous videos, will debut the Saturn V rocket in all of its glory. We'll go out to the orbit map now and go past the moon, and there's Minmus. Set it as our target, and that gives us our ascending and descending nodes. We see we are 7 degrees off inclination, so I will go to the 180 side of the 90. Just flying further south, and we see that descending node dropping. Once that gets to 0, we will be on plane with Minmus, and we don't have to worry about spending fuel on inclination burns. And there we go. That's about close to 0. So as long as we burn straight out, you can see that orbit dipping to the south on the far end. But as long as we burn straight and true along this vector, we will stay in inclination with it and be able to just pick a point in time and shoot. So we will see you at the maneuver node. Here we go, burning at the maneuver node. It gets a little wonky when you go full speed. Luckily there's not much fuel in this thing. That burns off, and we fire our workhorse stage, the stage that will get us to Minmus. Finish off this circularization burn here. Only 300 meters a second to go. All the Kerbals look terrified. Well, except for Jebediah. He's always ready for a challenge. Flying right towards the sun. We see the camera angle shift over to say that we've gotten ourselves in an orbit of some kind. And now we've completed our maneuver. Let's see where that puts us. Alright, we're half a degree off on our inclination. Certainly not bad. We have a good apoapse. So we will burn on the other side to just circularize and make sure we set ourselves up for a good time to fire to Minmus. So, as standard practice, we will see you at the maneuver node. Here we go, and as fate would have it, just as the moon is rising over the horizon, we are ready to burn towards it again. And I actually had a few encounters with the moon on this mission on the way there and the way back. Luckily that was just a circularization burn, so now we are in a stable orbit and we are ready to shoot out to Minmus. 90 degrees is about where you want to go, but I'm firing right at that ascending node, so I will be even closer than that 0.5 degree inclination that we are off. So there we go. Our trajectory, while it's not the most efficient, takes us out past the orbit, and then we will drop in. Here's our maneuver here. And this is a much longer burn than the moon, of course, because we're actually going out further. The electric charge is sort of giving me a scare. I forgot to put solar panels on this version of the rocket. So luckily we have this long burn here to recharge those batteries up a bit. But we can't rely on the sun to recharge our batteries for us. So we have to make sure that even turning the capsule to point to a maneuver node, everything is thought out in advance, because any wasted movement is wasted battery. There we go. So we're at 115 units of charge, and we're ready to see where that puts us. Okay, we need to fire further out, but luckily we can use our RCS thrusters from here, because it's not that big of a change, and the earlier you can do these maneuvers, the greater effect you will have. So we see Minmus's projected target right there on the right, or our target intercept on the right, and then here comes Minmus, that marker on the left, and when they touch, there was a brief Mooner encounter, and there we go. We have a parallax and a sphere of influence entry. So I'll just trim this orbit down, and this is just minor thrust with RCS. 61,000, there's 18,000, and it's going to shoot us into a polar orbit, but we're going to maneuver before then. So we're here. We were actually going to shoot at the planet, so we burn at the 90 to kick that orbit east, and then we kick it south to bring it down to an equatorial lap around Minmus. And now we're ready to plan our insertion burn right here, or our equalizing burn. Lots of retrograde delta V, and bring it down just over the surface. And there we go. Luckily Minmus doesn't have too tall of mountains, so a 5,000 meter approach will be good. Burn off the last of this fuel cell, charge the battery while we can, and that is about as heavy lifting as we're going to do with that engine. We've circularized our orbit fairly easily. Just get these last meters of a second down, fine tuning here. And there we go. That is all for this stage of the rocket. We are now at a, let's see here, 5,000 by 6,000. That's good enough. So all we'll have to do now is drop that last fuel stage, and we will be command pod and lunar lander. So here we go. We are separating. We used a stack separator to get these two apart, and now it's time to send 2 Kerbals down to the lander can. So we send down Jebediah, he'll EVA out. No sense in connecting these two together, because you can't transfer from craft to craft without EVA anyway. We can see the door behind us, so we float through the separated part, which has lost its collision model, and we glide Jebediah carefully into position to grab the ladder and board the lander. Now Jebediah is aboard the lander, so who will be the next contestant to join him? Switching stages here, that's our fuel. So let's pull out Bob. No, Bill. I think Bob landed on the moon last time, so Bill will get a chance to come down. And just like Jebediah, he will transfer over to the lunar lander and prepare for his descent onto the Minmus surface. Flying above the tin can now, spinning around, and just like Jebediah, carefully thrusting into position. And there we go, grab and board. Now our Kerbals are ready to plan their approach, and we will shoot for this bed right here or so. So we'll just set up a maneuver node, get it ready to go, fire retrograde, and we're going to come down about right there. So we will see you at the burn. And here we go, burning now. I think the maneuver node was either moved, my orbit moved, or my speed changed, because I'm burning and we are dropping velocity for sure. But we've dropped it to the point where we will no longer reach that ice bed. So we're coming down on this hilly section, which is not generally recommended, but luckily I think that's a flat spot beneath us, so we can finish out our maneuver node, and then we will drop our landing legs, and then we will just, okay, so that's where it's going to put us. It looks like we're on top of a nice plateau here. So what we'll do is we will kill our lateral velocity and just let the light gravity of Minmus pull us down the rest of the way. 20 meters, 10 meters, and there we go. We've stopped, and now as you can see by our trajectory, it is pointed right at the top of the ball. And now we're coming down. Radar altitude showed us 1,000 meters above the surface, so that's going to be our goal. So we're 500 meters above our landing point now. We can start to see that shadow appear beneath us on the ground. Now it's really starting to come into view. Luckily, we only have a little bit of lateral speed, nothing much. And as you can see, my engines are cut, and we're not picking up really any speed as we're dropping, so that's why Minmus is such a good target. The gravity doesn't pull the capsule down, so it doesn't take a whole lot of thrust to get yourself out of a bad situation. But just a light thrust as we come down, and we touch down, kill the engines. It's about to tip over. Just using that gimbal inside the pod to set us back down, and there we go. We have set foot on Minmus. Kind of at a funny angle, but not bad. Let's drop this ladder down. We get the nice light illuminating the backdrop. Just like that, and Jebediah will be the first to fall to the Minmus surface. And let go. Whee! Plop. Do Minmus angels. Now Jebediah's walking around and he wants to do a test. We're going to jump on Minmus. Whee! And then old Bill is going to get out and try to get to the ground before Jebediah. There's old Jebediah floating in the air still. Or the vacuum. And he touched down first. And there's Jebediah landing safe and sound. Now let's turn on some lights, get some dramatic music, which I'm not going to put in here, and plant a flag to say that Kerbals have conquered Minmus. Here we go, plant the flag. Orientate it, getting ready. Boop! Oh crap. There we go. We'll call this the Minmus Landing. And on the plaque shall read, with Jebediah, hope I spelled that right, and Bob. Now let's give all three credit here. With Jebediah, Bob, and Bill, because they were our Mooner Kerbals as well. We conquered the moons of Kerbin. Indeed, we are now ready to set our sights on interplanetary travel. But first things first, we have to get these guys home. So that'll be the next part. This was Sokka, and thanks for watching.